I never realized I wouldn't be sitting in front of the camera ever.
So how bad is it?
No, it's not that bad. It's just a point of getting used to it.
Yeah.
You're just another person watching you. Just watch back at the person. Simple. That's the benefit. I mean, you can't be scared of it. Yeah.
Where do you feel safest?
Where? Where? I'm just wondering. In the mountains or next to the sea. That's where. By myself, actually.
I'm a person with a quest. I don't know what the quest is, but I just feel that I have to get somewhere. I have to do something which I'm not very clear about. And I think I'm driven by this sense of restlessness of wanting to get somewhere. But I need to become more aware of what it is that I want.
Would I, if I could, open my heart, let love flow like an unending stream, the whiteness of the clouds moving softly within, healing oneself, traveling deep into the abyss of memories, of sewers, of wilting flowers, the stench of guilt, of water long decayed. Would I, if I could make the birds sing, throttled in the nettle, stuck in the void, the notes moving in a rhythm, breaking the spell of hate and discordance, softening the sounds of boots, walking in the shadows, crunching in its wake the visions of despair. Would I, if I could, bring the past to the present, seeing it with today's perception, believing in the wisdom of the experience, melting the longing into the sublime, chasing the shadows into the invisible. Would I could.
First, initially what began was I started crying out a lot. At home, there was not a second I didn't cry. I just couldn't stop the crying. And it was very, very difficult for me to understand as to why am I howling so much? Where is the crying coming from? And I couldn't cry in front of anybody either. I remember very well. I mean, even if I were talking to friends, I just couldn't howl. I had to go in my own space and howl. Yes, it works. I've always been of the belief that you try and handle the most you can by yourself. But I've realized that it is very important to seek support. It's not that you have to be by yourself all the time.
So what came after all that crying was done?
A sense of peace, actually. And more than anything, I realized it was okay to cry.
I was a boy who didn't run fast enough. Would I have run if I could? Did I want to run? Why didn't I run? This, more than anything else, troubles me of my childhood. He touches me and I do not move away. I know what is to come. Hard, prickly kisses on my soft skin and lips. I do not know if I found it hateful. It was too long ago. And then the wetness on him. I never knew what that was. And much, much later I knew.
I remember there was laughter at some distant time, warm memories of play. They must have been. I wasn't sad, Ma, only alone.
I miss you. I wish I could have told you. You who I lost so early on in my life and continue to lose later. Friends. After we discuss how you could have done better in yesterday's math test, could you tell me how to escape hands that reach for me in the dark? There really is no one to share with. That is a fact. Nobody understands it. You can talk about abuse. People will listen to it as a story. They would feel sorry for you. They would be sensitive to you. But nobody understands the repercussions and how complex the dynamics are. And I think I had to just sort it out for myself. So when the friend said, why don't you write about it? It would help you. I began writing and I couldn't write about it. It was just too difficult. It was so warped. It was so clouded by a childlike vision of what had happened. And I wrote and I kept writing and I kept writing. Often I wrote garbage, I wrote rubbish, I wrote poetry, I wrote short things, I wrote them, I tore them, I threw them away. Finally it began to take shape. As my writing took shape, I think it began to work itself out in my mind as well. The entire abuse, it kind of got contextualized. I became sensitive to myself. I honored what I had done to cope with the abuse. And that writing then gave way to freedom. I was, in several small ways, I was free of that original incidence of the abuse. Now what I had to deal with was all the years afterwards where I continued to make my choices. And that I'm still dealing with to a large extent.
It was just a verbal dialogue. I was talking, she wasn't. So she just told me, I wish you told me earlier. So I just left it to that because it was just, that was it. It was more of me talking to her than I wasn't expecting her to say anything, but rather she said that I wish you had told me earlier.
So you were expecting a better response from your mother?
I was, definitely. I was.
What were you expecting?
And do I have to answer that? Can I skip it?
Yeah, sure.
I think if her mother had heard her or at least spoken to the person or spoken up for her, if not even have spoken up for her, at least have spoken to the person and asked, taken it seriously enough to even ask whether it actually happened or what was, to say this is what Amtoj is saying and what could have happened. I think that also would have been very validating for her. But to have the entire thing completely not ever talked about, that was
a shock actually. I couldn't. I let it go actually. I mean, how much can I really press on? So I sort of let it go.
One question haunts me. During those years, why didn't I tell anyone? My father was steeped in financial problems, and my mother, worried about her husband's long absences, wouldn't have known what to do with such confessions. Many years later, I told my parents. My mother was shocked. My father just laughed.
I just lost a sense of sight. There was just too much. I didn't want to see the world. I mean, I closed my eyes, but there was a time I didn't want to see anything, and my ears took over. When I started hearing voices in my head, that was more like, why am I hearing 4 different people? Besides counseling, painted a lot. Spent a lot of time by myself in my room. I mean, I hardly got out. I really had to get it out. One way was to get back to painting. when I go back and I look at that same painting time and time again, it's such a joy, because I hadn't touched my pencils in such a long time.
If I'm there in a counseling session and someone is talking about their abuse, I'm going to have to look at their abuse so much from their point of view. And I'm going to have to understand their context so closely that there is no space for my experience at all. The only part I bring into the session is my sensitivity about the subject. Like, for example, I would know that there would be repercussions as far as self-esteem is concerned. I know there would be sexual repercussions. I know there would be repercussions as far as relationships are concerned. I know that there would be there may be fractured relationships with one's parents, one's children, one's spouse, boyfriends. There would be problems with intimacy. Because I know all of that, I can explore, I can ask questions about that. And I can therefore help the person make connections between parts of their life which they did not think were connected to the abuse, but they're having problems in. So my experience helps me in being able to get them to share their story in a more wholesome way. And because I've moved away from my own experience, I'm not bringing in my baggage into the session. I remember that we went over this, the entire kind of scene of how you would go and confront this person who had abused you. And what would you say? And what were you hoping to achieve? His agreeing or his believing or even saying, accepting the fact that he did this was not what you were looking for. What you were looking for was to go and tell him that this is your memory of what happened and this is how you feel about that and this is what you feel about him.
I remember confronting him and him telling me all kinds of things. And there were things that I wasn't even, they were new to me as well. But obviously I stuck to my guns and said what I had to say and finished what I really, whatever I had to say, and I walked away, no matter what I heard or didn't hear. I tried not to let that get to me, all the negatives, or you're mad, or you're insane, or you're this, or you're that. I said, to hell with it. This is what it is, this is what it will be, whether you want to believe it or you not, but this is what it is. You can't just turn around and say, I'm a liar. It's happened and it has.
Are you still angry?
Very much so. But I've not let it overpower me. The anger is there, but I continue to live my life the way I choose to. I'm sure the anger is something that may never go, I believe, unless, that's what I believe, it may never go. But that doesn't mean that I stop living my life, and the anger is not the center of me. It's there, but it's not consuming me.
I have always felt myself dirty, unclean, always searching for someone pure. I love women, and yet I'm always seeking the companionship of a man, pure and untainted. I don't think a film like this can help people who have been abused. In the end, nobody really can. You have to help yourself. But yes, maybe it can tell people who abuse what the experience can do to a person, how it can shatter him. My uncles, they had no idea.
My body I could not keep from the world. It seemed to no longer be a part of me, taking on a shameful life of its own. I dropped out of every activity that would expose me to eyes, dropped out of basketball, stopped dancing, never took the risk of running, found it impossible to look at anyone directly in the eye. Then a strange thing began to happen. I was looking into the mirror and my body, it was not visible anymore. That's me. I'm on that raft. That's me there. Right in front, paddling. I promised myself the last 4 years I would do something new every year. So this year it was going on an expedition all by myself, not knowing who I would have to share a tent with, who the other people would be. It was really like putting yourself out there. And I made new friends. I made good friends. So that was nice.
How's it going if I get bored?
Please. No.
I can't take this.
Try it.
No, please.
You look, Bambi in the board.
तो बोलेंगे साउंड आ रही है.
बहुत घुंघराला है. Through my counseling, I used to use their house a lot. I would come and spend a lot of time by myself over here and inside out, and I used to talk to them as well, that I'm on medicine and just support and just generally talk about what's going on.
बिक्री. बैटी को देखो कैसे देख रही है. अच्छा ना.
It's the space that they gave me.
Very nice.
That come anytime, no restrictions, do what you want.
मम्मी.
And that's been nice. That I have a place to go to other than home. I was always running away from home. And over here there was trust. Yeah, trust and I wasn't being judged. But mostly what people do is when you say that I'm having a problem, they would try and give their advice, do this, do that, rana, dhimkana. And over here I would just say this is the problem and I'm just going through this and I just need your support. Just a little hug there and a little hug there. And it's just the support that I got from them, unconditional love rather.
What I can see is that her self-esteem has really gone up than before. Before she was little. Don't you think so? That's what I can feel after she had gone for her therapy. She could figure out which direction she has to go, what she wants to do. And yeah, you're right. Still, she is a little bit confused, but at least she's happy than before. She takes things lightly now, not that seriously the way she used to take it.
Are you happy? I'm happy. Always scared that the happiness should not be elusive, but I'm happy. People can be there for you, they can help you up till a certain stage in your healing. Now the rest of the journey of healing I have to do on my own. And often I have to, I will now do things which are different from what I was doing a little time ago when these people could connect with me. They could understand me as a survivor who was dealing with these issues. But now that I'm no longer a survivor, I'm not defined by my survivorhood, I'm on my own path, I'm losing touch with them. Because now they don't always accept and understand my choices. I'm on my own again, is what I'm saying. I was alone and I had people helping me, but now I feel I'm on my own again. But it's not a sad loneliness, because now I have myself.
कोमल, पढ़ना नहीं चाहती हो क्या?
नहीं।
हाँ?
नहीं, ये पढ़ने पे
क्या बनोगी बड़ी होके?
बता दे क्या बोल रही थी?
हाँ?
पुलिस।
तो पुलिस के लिए पढ़ना
पुलिस
नहीं
बन
पड़ता?
के क्या करेगी बेटा? मारूंगा। किसको मारेगी रे? अच्छा ठीक। मैं भी साथ दूंगी। अब जैसे कहूँगी कोमल ये चीज़ नहीं करो तो कोमल होता ना खास करके वही काम करेगी। जो इसके जिद में होगा, जिद्दीपना, यहाँ तक कि पहले बिस्तर में बाथरूम नहीं करती है, बिस्तर में बाथरूम जैसे जितनी बार सोएगी उतनी बार बिस्तर में बाथरूम करती है। चेंजिंग तो खैर हर चीज़ में हो रही है, हर चीज़ में जिद, यानी पहले तो किसी पे हाथ नहीं छोड़ती थी, किसी दूसरे जैसे जान पहचान के हैं आ जाते थे तो चली जाती थी, अब नहीं जाती। और चाचा भी जैसे प्यार कर लेंगे ना तो चाचा को भी डांटते हो, हट तुम लड़के हो, प्यार क्यों करते हो, क्या करोगे, बस ये जवाब दे देती है। हाँ, किराए पे ही रह रही हूँ। पहले तो इसलिए के गई थी कि वहाँ चलो बचपन बिताए, ये बच्चे भी बड़े हुए, तो मगर वहाँ का जब ऐसा हादसा मेरे साथ हुआ, ना तो मेरे गली वाले साथ दिए ना मोहल्ले वाला, मैं तो किराएदार हूँ, किराएदार का तो साथ कौन देता, कोई भी नहीं देता। अगर आज साथ देता ऐसा हादसा नहीं होता। नहीं बेटा, कहाँ रो रही हूँ, आप बना, नहीं रो रही मेरे बच्चे,
तो बना कर उसको दे दे, मैं कुछ करूँगा ना इसका।
ये क्या बना दे दो?
ये भूत है।
अच्छा,
एक बात है कि जैसे आप आए तो मेरे को हिम्मत बहुत सी हुई, नहीं आप मेरे साथ हैं, नहीं तो मैं तो बिल्कुल हिम्मत चूर कर चुकी थी कि मेरे साथ कोई भी नहीं है। क्योंकि मैं तो दुकान पे चले जाते, पापा ड्यूटी चले जाते, भाई स्कूल चला जाता, ये ज़्यादातर ये अकेली ही रहती है, इसलिए कि मैं सोच रही हूँ दुकान बंद करके ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इसके साथ समय बैठे। पागल बना के रखती है।
अच्छा चल, कहानी आती है, कहानी।
हाँ, कहानी सुनाना।
गरीब का बच्चा, गरीब का
बच्चे सारे बच्चे ऐसे हैं।
कोमल, गलत बात। कोमल, हाँ आधा चूड़ी खोल के, हाँ थोड़े तो बच्चे में, हाँ थोड़े तो बच्चे मैं भी पहनूंगी ना। ला,
जो अजीत सिंह एसीपी साहब है, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में जितने भी थाने पड़ते हैं, तो वहाँ किसी कोई ऐसा क्षेत्र का केस घटता है, कोई बच्ची है ऐसे, तो उसको तंग ना किया जाए, परेशान ना किया जाए,
तो उनके पास ये फाइल भी नहीं थी,
इन्होंने भेजी नहीं होगी ना।
हाँ, ये वो जो कंप्यूटर पे ये एड करते हैं ना, तो मैं फाइल लेके गई थी, तो वो सारे फाइल ढूंढे, तो बोले ये तो केस, इस नाम से तो कोई केस ही नहीं आया यहाँ। तो फिर वो सारे केस थे जो वहाँ जहाँ देते, ये सारे कॉपी में वो करके रखे हैं।
तो मैं आपके साथ चलूँगा, ठीक है?
आप मेरे साथ चलना, क्योंकि मेरी हिम्मत नहीं होती है अकेले।
मैं चलूँगा पक्का। हाँ,
मम्मी देखूंगा मैं।
अच्छा, वो नहीं, वो हाँ मम्मी से बात प्यार करती है ये।
ठीक है, इधर देख।
मम्मी जी बोलो ना।
हाँ, क्या बोलूं?
बोलो ना।
क्या बोलूं? हाँ,
गाना सुनाओ।
मेरी बच्ची बहुत सुंदर है, आ जा। हाँ, और कुछ नहीं।
और बोल
बोल दे मम्मी, गाना सुना।
बोल दे।
हाँ, क्या बोलूं?
गाना सुनो, गाना
नहीं
ना कल बहुत सारा गाना
सुना दो।
नहीं सुनाना होगा तेरे को। इस पर इधर मुंह कर सुना सुनाया भी नहीं, सुनाना।
वहीं पे टीवी वाला डेक चलाता है, काफ़ी खूब नाची थी, बहुत इसी गाने पे नाची थी। और रात में फिर 26 फरवरी का जन्मदिन था। सब्जी वाले को सब्जी के लिए ऑर्डर देने गई, मैं बोली कोमल खाना खा ले, कोमल खाना खा लेना, कहीं जाना मत। तो ये बाहर हाथ धोने के लिए निकली थी, कमरे में खाना खा रहे थे तो हाथ धोने के लिए निकली थी। हाथ धोने के लिए निकली तो बोला मम्मी ये कोमल बाहर आना। वो लड़का बाहर बैठा हुआ था, गली के बाहर, जस्ट सामने गेट है, इतना ऊंची वो है, दूसरे के दरवाजे पे। बोला कोमल तुम्हारी मम्मी बुला रही है। फिर गली में ले जाके कहा कोमल झूला झूलेगी। उस प्लॉट में झूला भी था, अब झूला नहीं रखता है, दीवार के पीछे लेके गया था।
As the years went by, I made it in life. But what about the ghosts that continue to haunt my life, that sit between my wife and I, and sometimes pull me down to the depths of despair? I have too much to exorcise. I must stop writing now. Tomorrow I will write about hope and love and sunshine.
There's always been that feeling that I haven't been loved enough. So I've always searched for that, really, that fond thing called love. And in many ways I think I have found it. And in many ways I had to learn to love myself first. That's what I had to realize. The rest would follow. And then there are times that I really want to be loved and held and all that. That's why the urge sometimes is so strong to be loved, is that it heals you in many ways.
चूड़ियों का जाना
कितनी सारी गिलहरियाँ हैं।
एक गिलहरी अनेक गिलहरियाँ आगे क्या है
सूरज है,
चंदा एक
नहीं हुआ है, एक
तारे
चिड़िया।
अनेक वो है ना वो
कौन सा एक चिड़िया?
परियों की कहानी सुनोगे
सुनाओ।
दीदी दीदी हमें भी सुनाओ
सुनाओ ना। सुनाओ।
चतुर चिड़िया दाना चुभने बैठ गई थी। फिर क्या हुआ दीदी? फिर क्या हुआ? उसके आगे क्या था?
I forgotten यार। फिर है उसके
फिर
बाद
एक
में।
सूरज
वो
एक
बाद में।
चंदा एक तारे अनेक नहीं सूरज एक चंदा एक तारे अनेक और गिलहरी अनेक गिलहरियाँ एक गिलहरी अनेक गिलहरियाँ